What's up, oddballs? Welcome back to the Oddity Shop, where the bizarre is always on sale. This is the podcast where we tell you creepy, odd, weird, strange, bizarro stories from around the world. I am one of your two amazing curators, Zach, and I'm sitting here with the other elder emo curator.
Yes, thank
per
you.
her hat, Kara. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Oh, it's so great. I'm gonna punch you if you keep talking like that.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I had a very productive day.
Ooh.
Got a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, you had a nice little day off extension of your vacation.
Yeah, so we leave Thursday morning for Paracon, even though now it's already over when we're talking about this. But we leave Thursday morning for Paracon. Today's Tuesday. But I have Tuesday, Wednesday off. So I have a decent amount of time to get some things done. And we're leaving bright and early.
I don't know if it's going to be bright yet, but early for sure.
Yeah, we're trying to leave our houses at 7.
Which we are not early riser people.
I mean, I think you and I like to be up early because we like to get stuff done and be like motivated and it starts our days, but we don't want to be up early.
Let's be honest though, for me, early is somewhere between like 7:50 and 8:30.
Well, right. So leaving the house at 7 is crazy, but that's all right.
I've already put in my wake up call with Julia. She's going to make sure I'm moving.
That's so good. I'm so pumped because I don't know if you saw today, Steve, my boyfriend, he be posting everywhere like, Michigan, can't wait to see you. Like, see you guys soon. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. My friend won't be a fool this year and I'll actually get to talk to him.
There you go. You will. You just have to say it now. I will talk to him.
I will talk to Steve Gonzalez. I have my book set aside so that I can be like a little dork and be carrying it around until I see him so I can sign it.
Nice. Make sure you bring me my spirit box too, because you've had that for way packed. Too long.
I bought it.
For me.
For a gift.
Yeah, right. If we were going to go by that logic, you'd own basically half my house.
This is true. No, we'd own each other's.
True.
So did you see, I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like I feel good about it, but then I also am like, okay, you and I both love Tom Holland. We don't really watch things that he's in, but we just think he's so adorable.
First of all, speak for yourself.
Whatever. I just think he's adorable.
I love Tom Holland.
So I don't know how we're going to feel about this, but did you see that they're redoing A Clockwork Orange
with
Tom Holland?
I did see that quite a while ago. I forgot about it though.
Do you think it's going to be good or bad?
I don't know yet.
Because I could see him he's so fucking cute.
I know. He's kind of perfect for the role, but
yes.
We'll see.
But does it need to be redone?
No, I'm so sick of them redoing every movie. Although I am really excited for the Beetlejuice one because everyone's coming back to play themselves. And that's...
Well, and it's not a complete redo.
Right. No, it's like a new story. So
I'll be there day one. I don't know how I'm excited because, that's my favorite fucking movie. But I don't know.
When does that one come out again? We need to figure out how to see it together. Honestly, both of them. Oh,
September 6th.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I won't be able to see it with you day one, but...
No, I'm going to go by myself, to be completely honest.
I think I'm going to go up north to my parents because that's Labor... No, that's the weekend after Labor Day. I don't know. Maybe we will. We'll figure it out.
Labor Day is that week, that Monday.
That's true. Okay. Cool. Well, we got Tom Holland and Beetlejuice.
Yep. Beetlejuice.
I only have one exciting announcement, but it's also an announcement that you'll be excited about. And maybe half of our listeners know, but we need to talk about it here now. So, for our 100th episode, we made some big moves, and we've been asking y'all for stories for a long time. We've been asking y'all to write in. Quite a few of you have asked if you can leave a message or come on the show to tell the story. Yes. So now, down in the show notes, there is a phone number that goes directly to our voicemail. It is 616-320-4539, in case you're wondering. But you'll be able to leave your own creepy tales. You can leave a couple voicemails. They are maxed out at 3 minutes right now. I'm looking for a way to fix it. But tell us the creepy things you've experienced.
Just call back.
Yeah, keep calling. And maybe we'll be having you on a future episode. I'm excited. Are you excited?
No, I'm very excited because I think it is one of those things where sometimes it's really hard for people to sit down and articulate what they're trying to say into a text or an email or whatever. So I do think that this will be just easier, but also just like more enjoyable because we get to hear it from your guys' voices.
We're so excited.
And then if you say that we can play it, then we'll play it on an episode, and then everyone else can hear your creepy little tale or just weird thing. Or if you just want to call us and say, hey.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Do you have anything else then? Oh, I guess not. Let's get this shop opened up. What do you got today?
All right. Are you ready for your question?
I am ready for my question.
Okay. What's one thing you're grateful for at the moment?
I am grateful for today being my Thursday, which means tomorrow, Wednesday, is my Friday. And then we have a long weekend of a convention to go to.
All right. I thought I would mix it up a little bit, you know.
I like
now
that.
Everybody else, pause. Think about what you're grateful for.
There you go.
Okay.
We all need to remember the things we're grateful for.
Exactly. I'm grateful for you. Thanks for asking.
Oh, yeah. What are you grateful for? Other than me, obviously.
You.
I said other than me,
see you.
obviously. Okay. If all your gratefuls are about me, I guess I can't complain.
Yeah, why are you arguing about it? You're getting mad. What else? You. Okay.
All right, let's get going.
Let's get into it. So we've touched on this briefly, the uncanny valley effect.
Oh, I'm going to sound like you right now. I hate it already.
I hate it. So the uncanny valley effect is hypothesized psychological and aesthetic relation between an object's degree of resemblance to a human being and the emotional response to the object. So the most common thing is dolls.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a different common thing. I'm sure it's in here.
Oh, what? Well, you can give me a common thing.
That one horrible movie, that Christmas, they're all on a train. What's it called?
We talked about the Polar Express.
Polar Express. That is the most.
Yeah.
Whenever people say uncanny valley, that's what. But
dolls are just like.
Dolls are the same too, though.
But dolls are just that's like the most common thing that I feel like everybody can relate to.
Fair.
Okay, so do you know what pareidolia is?
I don't think so, but it sounds familiar. So enlighten me.
It is the tendency for perception to impose a meaningful interpretation of a nebulous stimulus, usually visual, so that one detects an object pattern or meaning where there is none. Okay, so common examples include images like perceived of animals, faces, and objects in cloud formation, seeing faces in inanimate objects, or lunar. So like the man on the moon or the moon rabbit. The concept is like may extend to include hidden messages or in recording music played in reverse, all that kind of stuff.
Ooh, the other one is finding faces and everything. Like, you know how you look at a car and you're like, the grill kind of looks like a face. Yeah,
so my tiles in my shower, there's literally Jack's skeleton. Oh my God, it's crazy. But anyway, yes. I didn't know, though, until I read this, that the rabbit in the moon was one. I just always thought that was just me. I've always seen a rabbit. I didn't know other people saw a rabbit on the moon.
I've only ever heard the man in the moon.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I'm sure that anyone can relate to at least one of those examples that we just gave. Okay. Now, I'm sure that we've all sworn that we felt somebody watching us.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. The psychic staring effect is the claimed extrasensory ability of a person to detect being stared at. And this idea was first explored by psychologist Edward B. Titchener in 1898. And we've talked about this so many times where we just feel like we're being watched or somebody's like in the other room staring at us. You just get
that feeling, you know?
It's creepy. Okay. Have you ever hiked in the mountains?
Yes.
You might have heard of or experienced Brocken Specter.
Okay. Another one that I don't know by name.
No? Okay. If not, at least earthsky.org tells us that Brocken Specter happens if you were mountain climbing at a time of day where the sun was low and behind you. And if you climbed high enough to look down into a mist below you, you might witness the shadowy figure of the Brocken Specter. It's your own shadow that you see, cast on the surface of the mist below, surrounding by a halo-like ring of light. The sun must be behind you, but you're seeing your shadow projected in front of you through the mist.
Okay. No, I've definitely hiked in the mountains, but not...
Does that make sense?
Not early or late enough for the mist, but yeah, it does make sense.
For that to be a thing? Okay. So you kind of already said, but how do you feel about all of these topics so far?
I mean, every single one of them makes me feel uncomfortable, except for the pattern finding thing. I guess that one, but that's just like,
but sometimes it's
your
weird.
brain making sense of the world. Yeah.
So I feel that they all make sense just at a base level, but literally exactly what you just said. Somehow all together, though, I feel a bit uncomfy.
Yeah.
It makes me feel uncomfy.
Doesn't take much.
So I'm going to leave us. Yeah, I'm going to leave us with that feeling for a minute.
Ooh.
So let's travel.
Okay, where are we going?
We're going to the Santa Lucia Mountains, which some people say Santa Lucia, whatever you decide. This is a rugged mountain range in coastal central California. Have you been?
Not a whole lot.
Not that you know of.
No, I think I've always been like North Cal or South. What is it? SoCal.
Okay.
I have never spent much time in the middle.
SoCal. Okay. So the range forms the steepest. I put this stuff in for you because I knew you'd want to know. So the range forms the steepest coastal slope in the contiguous United States. Cone Peak is at 5,158 feet tall and 3 miles from the coast, is the highest peak in proximity to the ocean in the lower 48 United States.
Okay.
The range was a barrier. So it was a barrier to exploring the coast of Central California from early Spanish explorers.
Gotcha.
Okay. The first documentation of the range was in 1542. Yes.
I've been through these mountains.
Have you been there?
I did drive through these mountains one time.
I kind of figured you would have at one point.
We were trying to go to Reno, actually, and we had a flight that got grounded in LA, and we had to drive through the mountains across central Cali because we couldn't get another flight into Nevada. Okay. Sorry.
All right.
Go on.
No, you're good. So the first documentation of the range was in 1542 by Juan Rodriguez Cambrillo. And in 1602, tasked with documenting a chart of the coast, Sebastian Vizcaino named the range Sierra de Santa Lucia in honor of Saint Lucy of Syracuse. All right. So just a little history on our mountains. What? I know I can't say shit. All right. Any comments, concerns, emotional outbreaks so far?
I just appreciate you hitting me with the history and the facts.
Listen, I knew you'd want the mountain facts.
You know I'm weird about that shit.
I know. You and our listeners are probably wondering why we talked about icky feelings and now mountains.
And like 100 other things. Yeah. Yes, time to wrap it together here, Kara.
Well, yeah, I'm going to tell you. After I tell you about John Steinbeck's Flight.
Like the novelist?
Which was included in the 1938 collection of short stories, The Long Valley.
Okay.
I'm going to assume we've never read this.
No, I have not read that.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you the plot.
Perfect. Yeah, just give me all the spoilers.
A boy, Pepe, goes into town to run an errand for his mother. It's going to be an overnight trip, so he is to stay at his mother's friend's house for the night. Okay, so she's like, hey, run this errand for me, blah, blah. I don't need you coming back home, though, in the dark. Stay at somebody's house. I don't know. Okay. When he returns, he admits that he stabbed a man that was also staying at her friend's house that had called him names. So now he has to flee into the mountains. So long story short, his fleeing met with a lot of misfortune, eventually leaving Pepe shot and at the top of the ridge, where he falls and dies at the bottom of the ridge where stones cover his head.
You know, it's unfortunate for him, but like maybe let's just not resort to stabbing people as our first reaction, and things could have been a little different.
The next line I wrote was sad, but maybe don't murder someone that called you a name.
There we go. At least we can agree on one thing.
Okay. So let me give you a little bit from the book. Are you ready?
Yes.
Pepe looked suspiciously back every minute or so, and his eyes sought the tops of the ridges. Once, on a white barren spur, he saw a black figure for a moment, but he looked quickly, for it was one of the dark watchers. No one knew who the watchers were, nor where they lived, but it was better to ignore them and never to show interest in them. They did not bother one who stayed on the trail and minded his own business. And with that, my oddballs, brings us to the bazaar that's on sale today. The Dark Watchers.
Ooh, okay. I'm interested. Did anywhere...
Well, good.
Okay. No, so...
I'm so glad you're interested.
I am
Zachary.
interested. No, I had a thought too, but the thought is just not the thinking. On your research on this, and just stop me if I'm getting too far ahead. Did you come across third man syndrome?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll bring it up at the end and see if they're...
Well, I was gonna say it might. No, I don't remember reading that, but I feel like I might know what you're talking about. So you can interrupt if it's like part of what I'm talking about later.
Perfect, because I've tried to write that episode like 4 times and there's just not enough info, so I'll throw it in here.
Oh, okay, then I might not know. Okay. So Steinbeck, the author of the book I just mentioned's mother, Olive Hamilton, was a school teacher, and she brought fruit or sometimes flowers to the Dark Watchers. She told her children and grandchildren that she left fruit or nuts on her way to school in the Big Sur, which is part of the mountains. And on her way back, there would always be flowers in the place of what she left. She was very adamant, and she believed thoroughly in the Dark Watchers, and she warned her children and grandchildren of the Dark Watchers. Give them gifts, leave them alone. So these beliefs his mother had clearly stuck with him and made it into the way of his stories. But what are these Dark Watchers?
Ooh, okay. What are they, Miss Curator Kara?
Thanks to Wiki, we're going to get a quick rundown. So, the Dark Watchers, also known by early Spanish settlers as Los Vigilantes Oscuros, is a name given to a group of entities in California folklore dating back to the 1700s. Mostly seen observing travelers along the Santa Lucia Mountains, the Dark Watchers are described as tall, sometimes giant-sized, featureless dark silhouettes, often adorned with brimmed hats or walking sticks, which just reminds me of the Hat Man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really similar...
Like, he's just a dark... Yeah, he's tall, dark, like, featureless shadow with a hat.
Creepy.
I know. They are most often reported to be seen in the hours around twilight and dawn. They are said to motionlessly watch travelers from the horizon along the Santa Lucia mountain range. According to the legend, no one has seen one up close, and if someone were to approach them, they disappear. Okay, I have to give you some encounter stories.
I've been waiting.
So now we're moving to Reddit. But I do want to hear your thought on them so far. Okay. So that description, what is your thought?
So it kind of reminds me a little bit of... like we've talked about the Hat Man, and I think we've kind of talked about him in, I was talking about that show Fringe, where they have like the observers of the universe, right? Who are like sort of like these men in black, shadowy figures. It kind of gives me that a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Definitely.
Also, I guess with like the gifts and the offering and stuff too, it like gave me a little like a fae or elemental vibe. So I'm not sure where this is going at. I think I just need some more info and stories.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to give you as much because there really isn't a lot. But here we go. So this was from 4 years ago from CA Castle 8. Used to live in Monterey, which is on the northern side, about 30 minutes from Big Sur. I'll say this. You can feel, which is in all caps, the history in the whole area, if that makes sense. Go stand on one of the points at night and just look and listen. It's an amazing area, and I miss living there so much. I've read about the Dark Watchers, and having driven and stayed in the area many times at night, I could absolutely see where the stories like that come from. It feels like it's a different place and time, and when you're out there. And then she also added an edit. There's a lot of military history there too, with the old base. Between the native history of the area, the Catholic and the Spanish settlers, the military history, it's easy to feel things and sometimes see things in that area. I had some interesting experiences, never the Dark Watchers, but with other things I can't explain. So hers isn't really necessarily the Dark Watchers, but it is just that feeling. So it's still kind of like that same thing, like where maybe you didn't actually see the Dark Watchers, but you feel weird things or like feel things watching you, which like I just liked that Reddit story because it's believable.
Yeah, I think there's it kind of, that story brings in, there's something to be said about just mountains in general. Like look at Appalachia, right? Or those places around Kentucky and stuff where like the goblins come out of, or caves and stuff under, mountain ranges. I think they're so old and it was like buried and has somehow come up, like where, I don't know, they just have something, about them.
They just have a lot of energy in themselves.
Yes.
And then you add, like what she said, the military, the Native Americans, the Spanish, like, it just
collects it.
Okay. Yes. So this is also from 4 years ago, and this is from Take Omaha Olson 2. I think that's what the username is. My husband and I were in California a few years ago for a wedding of my ex. Yeah, I know, strange. We actually got an invite. He and his new wife took us to Big Sur near the Santa Lucia Mountains. As we were out sightseeing, I looked at the mountains and asked them about the thin statues on the peaks. My ex and his wife looked rather scared and asked, "Oh my God, you saw them?" I asked what the story was with the statues, and they said, "Not statues, they are the Dark Watchers. The local Native American tribes know way more about them, but they've been here since the beginning of time."
I'd be done. Get me off that mountain.
Well, isn't that just like weird though? Because they're like, wait, you saw them? Like they didn't see them. They were like, holy shit, you saw them. Like that's so, because it's almost like she said something about it after. Maybe, like, I don't know. But either way, it's really fucking creepy. And I'm sorry, if I thought something were statues and then found out that they weren't statues, I would shit my pants.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Get me off the mountain.
Get me out of California. Okay, so those are my two experiences, and I gave you a few reasons or theories of what the Dark Watchers could be. So remember the uncanny valley effect, pareidolia, the psychic staring effect, and then the Brocken Specter. And you heard some encounters. What do you think now? Anything different?
Not really, since I've heard the encounters. I want to...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, keep going.
So I want to know, do you think though that, because there's not a lot to the Dark Watchers. So I will say that there isn't really any more information, but do you think it's one of these like effects, or do you think it actually is something? I know you said elemental. So now that you heard just two stories, do you still feel that way? Or do you think it's one of these effects?
Well, I don't think it's uncanny valley by any means, because people aren't getting close enough to like see, get that.
Yeah.
The whatever the Spectre one is, I'm not sure how to say it.
Yeah, I don't think about that one because I feel like that has to be so specific.
Right.
And it's weird that this many people are claiming to see this and it be that specific of an effect.
The pareidolia or whatever, I don't have the words in front of me, so I'm going to keep saying I'm wrong. That's one could be one of those things I think that maybe fit this, just because you're looking for the pattern on stuff that you're seeing, but with it being such a vast area and time that they've been seen, I don't know.
Yeah, 1700s since the
yeah.
Okay.
Did you ever watch Skinwalker Ranch?
No.
It kind of gives me the vibes of like, not that they really see figures or anything like that, but just like that native land where the natives kind of know something and it's been rumored for forever and nobody really understands it, but like it's just kind of accepted that something is there.
It really knows or understands. Yeah. Okay. So before I move on, why don't you then take some time to explain what you were talking about? What was it?
So it's called the third man syndrome. And this was kind of ringing true more when you were talking about Pepe. So it's something that usually happens like when people are in life or death situations and a lot of times out in the wilderness. So one of the most famous is people who were mountain climbing, who they had an accident. They got stuck in the mountain, like a blizzard moved in, and they're trying to like just survive and get down the mountain. And throughout the entire experience, everyone, without saying it at first, starts to see a shadowy figure like near them and then closer and then all of a sudden leading them. And it's not something that makes them feel uncomfortable. It's like some people say it looks like a third person actually with them. Some people say it does look more like spirit or whatnot, but it seems to be leading people
like
to safety
or just.
Yeah. So it's happening a couple times. I've heard about it happening on mountains. Others are like in a car accident. They're like people who were in a terrible, terrible car accident right? One of the ones I found, like, the girl was outside of her car where she should have been, like, basically crushed inside. She's like, well, there's somebody here who helped me. Where did they go?
I've heard stuff like that, but I've never heard it referred like that.
So that's when you were saying about, like, Pepe having a hard time up on the mountains.
Yeah.
I was wondering if whatever he would be seeing would be maybe related to that third man syndrome, but I'll still have to do a whole episode on it.
Ooh, I have goosebumps. Yeah, you should. I'm sure there's a bunch of different like encounter stories that you could like loop in.
We'll see what I can find.
Zach's like, no. Okay. That's interesting though. And actually, I bet if you read more into the Pepe story though, it might relate more because he did get hurt. I think he got shot in his arm. He was like passing out and delusional and dying. So like maybe.
So what was she leaving them gifts and stuff for? I guess if nobody ever gets close to them, like where does the fear come from?
Yeah, I don't know if it's fear or it's just respect more.
Okay.
I think it's just like a respect thing. Like this is like their land. We're going to leave them alone. We're not going to disturb them. We're just going to leave them gifts, appreciation, respectfully, and just move on down the path that we're supposed to be on type of deal. And that's why it's like unfortunate because it's kind of like what you were just talking about, the third man syndrome. There just isn't a lot about the Dark Watchers, but they're so weird and just creepy to me. And since it dates so far back, I just don't believe it's one of these effects that people are like experiencing, but there isn't a lot about it. Even my encounters, there was like not that many. There was like the Reddit discussions on the Dark Watchers goes on and on and on. But as far as like actual people like having encounters, not many people have wrote about it. So
it's more like a passed down lore almost.
Yeah. Yeah. So you kind of touched on it, but I do think that they are more some sort of elemental or like a nature spirit.
Yeah.
Like I get the feeling that they keep an eye out for you, like for misbehavior, like this is their territory. So they just keep an eye on it. And if you just leave, like,
so
you're good.
Don't litter in the Santa Lucia Mountains. Them Dark Watchers are coming for you.
So
also just don't litter in general and be a terrible person. Okay, sorry.
Hold on. You are literally you read my fucking mind so much sometimes it scares the shit out of me. So I found one last Reddit story and that aligns with my thoughts on this and literally like what you just said.
Oh, that's funny.
The disclaimer is it is very long.
Okay.
But we're going to go into it because I couldn't really cut it because basically what you just said.
I'm excited.
You have to read it all. Okay. This is also the wild part. Reddit 6 days ago.
Ooh, a recent one.
From, I think it's ERUTIOS. Eurytus?
Sure.
Whatever. Are you ready?
Oh my God. Ask me one more time on this episode if I'm ready.
I was trying to ask myself if I was ready. I met the Dark Watchers. I've been sitting on this one for a while, but I think it's time. This happened about 3 years ago. I was, without a doubt, the worst kind of hiker. You know, those guys who are all leave no sign, bagging their garbage, burying their poop, cleaning up the campsite, respecting nature's natural beauty and all of that. Yeah, that wasn't me. I like camping. My parents like camping, but there was always a mentality of the woods will take care of things.
Oh God.
I watched my dad. This story is going to make a lot of people really fucking angry. I'm just going to also put that out right now.
And coming from me who used to work in campgrounds, I feel like I'm already infuriated.
You are raging. You're going to keep raging. I watched my dad leave a whole cooler full of empty beer cans at the site one time when I was 8. We brought a couch with us on a camping trip once just because Dad knew there was a ravine nearby.
No.
Broken fishing rods left by the creek. Garbage right on the ground. Hell, we left a whole tent once because Dad couldn't get it back in the bag. We didn't use campgrounds either. Dad and Mom would pack up and find somewhere in the middle of nowhere and just live off the land for a couple of days and then leave their leave their crap behind.
I hate these people.
Enraged.
Absolutely.
I know. You know what's really sad though too is that he's like 8. Like he's a small kid and he's just like,
right.
Okay, like you know what I mean? Like
I'm getting
Because
flashbacks.
why would you know anything different?
To a night of working in the campground when I watch people with a similar couch situation put a inflatable mattress into their fire.
Oh, God. What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, let's burn plastic and rubber. Oh, the black smoke from... Because they were drunk and stupid. Anyways, sorry. I'm just having PTSD. Go on.
No, it's fine. I know. I knew this would trigger you so hard. I can't say that this is why I am the way I am. I know better than to litter and to be a pig, but in my head, the woods will always just take care of themselves. It's been here for millions of years. Why is my trash and stuff gonna mess with that? If my styrofoam cooler kills a couple of trees, then they didn't deserve to be there, right? Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. That's what I want to say.
Yeah. It's like he's not trying to justify it, but he's trying to like justify why he's not justifying it. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. So that is what I thought, at least. I go camping about 3 times a year. The start of the spring, the start of the summer, and the end of the summer, which also enrages me because that means he's literally polluting and littering that many times a year. Anyway,
yeah, that's a lot.
I live in California, so I always just pack up my pickup, get some food and beer and recreational greenery, and head out to somewhere remote. A buddy of mine from work hadn't shut up about this overlook about an hour from the city, right outside the Santa Lucia mountain range. And I figured I'd go crash out there for a weekend. Unlike my parents, I am not a living off the land kind of person. I brought food, I brought stuff, and I intended to do nothing but sit in the wilderness, sleep in my hammock, and get high. You can relate to that.
I mean, that part all sounds great, but pick up your damn trash.
I know. I called out Friday and found the perfect spot by lunchtime. It was gorgeous, overlooking the valley, and so remote that if I were to get really hurt, I'd probably die out here with no one the wiser. I set up my hammock, set out my fire logs, got some water, and just kind of spread out a bit. I made some lunch, sandwiches, rolled a joint, and just kind of mellowed out for a bit as the day rolled on. It was nice out here. Just watched the clouds and listening to nature. I was soon pretty well lit. And as soon as the sun started creeping down, I set about lighting my fire. There was probably a burn ban in effect, but I had water and I didn't care. This man is wild.
He needed the watchers. Whatever happens next in this story, he fully deserves all of it.
I am not disagreeing at all. Out here, no one was going to see me anyway, and I started roasting hot dogs as the sun cut a fantastic line across the sky. That was the first time I noticed them. I remember looking up and whispering shit as I mistook them for rangers or cops or something. They were just silhouettes on the ridge not far from my camp, 3 or 4 of them, and they had these wide, flat-topped hats like park rangers or the guy on the oatmeal box. I watched them for a minute thinking I was busted, but they just stood there. They didn't move. They didn't call out, but I know they saw me. My fire had to be visible for a ways at this height, and the longer they stayed, the more creeped out I felt. Why were they just standing there? If they wanted me to leave, then why not just tell me to leave? I didn't know, but once the sun set, I noticed they had vanished, and I just kept an eye peeled. I had my gun, so I wasn't worried. But I suddenly wished I had a tent to sleep in instead of just a hammock. I sparked up again, and after eating a pack of dogs...
That's the thing, and that's where you're either going to go good or bad, right? You're either going to smoke enough to chill out or smoke enough to never stop thinking about the watchers.
Right, and he eats a whole pack of hot dogs.
Well, I mean, I can't say anything on that. I had 10 on 4th of July.
I know, right? And that took care of my thoughts of any shadow guys or whatever. I dozed off in my hammock, but I dreamed about them that night too. I dreamed that they were at my campsite just standing around and watching me. They were like the outlines of people. Like when someone stands in front of the sun and all you get is the burnt out image of them, they didn't have any features, no eyes or anything. And I was frozen there as they looked at me. They didn't say anything. They just watched me. And I felt like being paralyzed the whole night, which I would be really terrifying to have sleep paralysis paralysis in a hammock.
Especially while you're by yourself in the middle of the woods.
Well, yeah. I woke up after dawn, almost fell out of my hammock, and I started making breakfast. As I stirred up the ashes of last night's fire. I wondered if it had really been a dream or not, but I felt like it must have been. Why would they come and look but not say anything? All my stuff was there too, down to the hot dog wrapper I left on the ground next to the fire, and I tossed it in as I ate my eggs and ham. The ice was still holding out. It was spring and not too hot yet, so I decided to go on a forest pub crawl. Translation, I put a bunch of beer into my backpack and walked out into the woods.
This dude's not a camper. He is just trying to get fucked up without anybody else around.
By himself in the woods is just okay.
Which, listen, I've done it, but like that's not the whole reason I go camping. That's just the first night.
I spent about 5 hours hiking the woods, tossing my dead soldiers into the trees as I finished them.
I hate this.
Some of them broke, which means they're glass. So he's just tossing glass bottles. Most of them didn't, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me as I hiked in the woods. I never saw anything. It was like I spotted someone hiding behind a tree, but it was like deep pockets of shadow that shouldn't have been there. It was midday, the sun was high, and I should have had major visibility. Even so, I found myself looking around as the crawling feeling just got worse and worse. Some of it was being drunk in the hot woods with no water. And when I found a stream, I plunged my face into it. I drank a little. Dad always said running water was fine to drink from. And when something snapped not far from me, I looked up like a zebra at a watering hole.
I'm picturing that too, just like
I know. Like a drunk ass, just like I looked around trying to find what was stalking me. There was nothing. Just the quiet forest and the gently rushing stream. No, I didn't believe that. I had felt stalked all day. And as I watched the trees, I felt sure that something moved out there. I got up and started running. The zebra analogy, too hard to break. And I kept waiting for the claws to sink in, the teeth to bite, and the hot breath to fall on my neck. It was going to come at any minute. I could feel it. And when I tripped over a fallen log, I just lay there and waited for the end. It would get me now. It would get me and I'd be dead.
Sure has a lot of detail on this for somebody who is apparently just getting so fucked up in the woods.
Well, remember, he waited like 3 years to write it, so I'm sure he embellished. Nothing happened. I lay there for nearly 10 minutes, just knowing it would get me when I moved, but it never came. When the ants started to bite my legs, I sat up and swiped at them. I had fallen next to an ant bed that I had accidentally stomped on in my haste, and they were mad as hell about it. I ended up going back to the creek to wash them off. A haphazard trip that took another 10 minutes, and I was still looking around like a scared animal. I sat with my legs in the creek until they stopped throbbing, and then made my miserable way back to camp. It was not as much fun as walking back as it was walking out, and I was jittery and tense the whole time. The sun was starting to slip down, and I absolutely didn't want to be out here in the dark. Too many things could be crunching around me in the dark. I made it back to the camp before it got dark, and as I cooked my dinner, the sun started to ride low. It was more hot dogs tonight, cooked over the fire, but I couldn't finish all of them. I was too scared to look away from the ridge, and I ended up burning more than one of them. They tasted fine either way, but I had eyes only for the shadows on the ridge, not those hot dogs.
Listen, it takes a lot to get a stoner away from their hot dogs in the woods, so they left quite the impression.
I know. Listen, I could just eat a pack of hot dogs, not stoned.
Honestly, the more you talk about them, the more I want one.
Honestly, what's so funny is I'm probably going to make a hot dog after this.
They're so gross, but they're so good.
They're so gross.
They're disgusting.
Okay. They had the same wide brim hats. A few of them had canes, but none of them were really people. They all were like shadows. the burned images of Hiroshima, the photo negatives that sometimes got burned into old photographs, all of them at once, and none of them at all. They stood there watching me. They didn't move. They didn't stir. And as the sun sank, I became colder and colder. I should have gone to my truck and left, but I didn't. I made myself put it out of my mind. I convinced myself that I was being foolish. When it got dark, I got in my hammock and I tried to get comfortable, but it wouldn't come. My leg hurt. I was sunburnt. I was hungover. I was dehydrated. I was. But ultimately, I was afraid.
Good.
I was afraid that when I closed my eyes, I know, they would get me. I was afraid that they would carry me off into the night and I would never be seen again. They would find my truck and my campsite, but never me. Maybe, I thought as I finally nodded off, someone would look up one afternoon at the sunset and see me on that ridge, just watching. I must have fallen asleep, and I like to think I dreamed what came next. I want to, but I can't convince myself that I did. I woke up and saw them standing around me. I could see them, and not just the ones in front of the fire. They were darker than the night somehow, and they began to creep closer to me. Crept is the wrong word, though. They slid along the ground like they were ghosts in some of the horror movies I've watched as a kid. So, side note, you might not remember this, but oh, fuck, what episode is it? Because it's like a really like iconic one of Buffy. It's not Silent. It's one where no one can talk.
It's been so long since I've watched it.
It reminds me of the weird demons in there. That's actually such a good episode though, because they just like float. Oh, it's so creepy. Okay, they hemmed me in, my body shaking, but my voice stuck in my throat. I didn't dare move. I didn't dare speak. And as they knelt around me, I heard whispering. It was a terrible sound, and it follows me into sleep sometimes. You come here to the womb of creation and leave your waste. You are a brainless creature fit only to destroy things made by your betters. You burn the wood of a creature who has existed before you and more than a twinkling in your father's eye. You destroy a place that was new when this planet cooled. You throw your trash into a home shared by 100 billion organisms, and you claim to be the superior here, the better. You are nothing, and you will die and be forgotten. On and on and on, they whispered endlessly to me, telling me how worthless I was, how I was nothing, and how I would never change. Then one of them rose up over the hammock, his body seeming to hang over me like a shadow cast from above. He looked like them, but he was clearly their boss or something. When he brought the cane down on nothing but air, I heard it crack like a thunderbolt. Go back to your stinking pit, but be warned. The next time you come to our woods and ruin our place, you will not be allowed to scamper off so easily. You are a stunned thing who was taught badly. By ignorance is forgivable. If you persist in this folly, however, we will not be so kind again. Now go, it yelled, and I opened my eyes to find it was morning. I was laying in my hammock, piss dribbling down my leg, and I knew that I better not be here when the sun came up again. I cleaned up everything, picked up my garbage, I cleaned up the site and poured water over the fire, and I mixed it with dirt like they say to do on the TV shows. And then I took everything with me and I ran to the truck. That was Sunday, and I've kind of been afraid to leave my apartment. What if they are waiting for me out there? What if they find me slipping or don't like what I don't recycle or something like that? What if I offend them and they drag me back to the woods to be punished? That's part of why I'm writing this. If you're like me, someone who doesn't care about their mess or just leaves the woods wrecked, then watch out. Don't let the Dark Watchers catch you messing up their forest, because they do more than just watch. Don't let them see you slipping, or you might find out what sort of punishments awaits you.
I mean, he got what was coming to him for sure. I hope he never goes camping again, even though this was only 6 days ago.
Well, it was from 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't say he camped since.
Good. He shouldn't.
He just wrote it 6 days ago. So we will say that there's a lot of detail there. However, like I said, it was from 3 years ago. So he had a lot of time to really think about it and to write it. So there's that for you.
Well, he's the only one of our stories who is mistreating the land. And,
yes,
you know,
and I think it's really funny that we both came to that conclusion before I even read this. And before I read this, I had thought what you basically had said.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of
hilarious.
the doubt. I'll say he's true. And I think you and I are onto something. It is something more spiritual, elemental, natural. And it's just like natural. They're probably so sick of people coming into California's beautiful landscape and just fucking it all up that they're like, all right, we're keeping this shit.
Yeah. And can you imagine? I mean, that's kind of like the perfect way to scare anybody into just basically like leaving and minding their business. You just stand and watch. Like you literally just stand and like watch over them. Like I wouldn't be doing anything wrong.
That's just terrifying.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to leave. In fact, if I see that, I'm leaving.
We'll throw another psychological term at you since you started it with that. The observer effect. Literally, people act differently when they know they're being watched. These guys are onto something.
So that my oddballs is the Dark Watchers. Yes, it's very creepy.
Well, good thing I don't litter when I go camping, but you know the second I have my edible while camping, I'm going to be looking out for them now. So thank you for the new paranoia.
I know, I'm so sorry. But if you're just doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're not disturbing anything, you'll be fine. And you might not even see them.
Oh, yeah, they'll probably just leave me alone.
I think maybe you only see them if like you're borderline about to slip up or they can feel that you're about to do something.
Right. Fair.
You're not supposed to. And then they just pop up, right? And then they just kind of try to scare you away. But if you just like mind your business, maybe leave some gifts, you know.
There we go.
Fruit, nuts, flowers, berries, whatever.
Biodegradable gifts.
Yes. Yeah, I want like nature gifts.
Yes.
Fruits, berries, flowers.
There we go.
Come on now.
Well, nice job, dude. I haven't heard of those before.
I know. I stumbled upon it and I just kept deep diving. And then I was like, this has to be elemental. And then I read that one and I was like, ooh.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
We got to tell Zachary.
Nice. Again, that's one I feel like I just want to Google immediately, like more after. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'll report back to you next time I go camping and I wake up pissing myself in my hammock.
Ugh. Please don't.
I'm going to try real hard not to. As long as they leave me alone, we'll be good. Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going camping. But good.
Leave them alone.
I will. They'll leave me alone. I'll leave them alone.
I know.
I'll clean up all my trash. I always do.
Everybody just leave everybody alone.
Okay, on that note, everybody leave everybody alone. Let's get the shop closed up. If you've made it this far, let's do a little tent emoji.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Like something camping related. Perfect. Or there's a dark sky one.
Ooh, there we go.
Isn't there a dark sky?
Yes.
Anyway, okay. We love you. We appreciate you. Please call us.
Yes.
Call us.
Leave us your stories.
Like, what the fuck?
You don't even have to write anymore. Just call it in. Tell us your story.
No.
We'll do an episode on it.
Call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
All right. With that being said, what else do they need to do?
Just keep talking to me on social media. I love that you guys are sending the emojis that we're asking. It makes me so happy. Please call us now because you can. Even if you just want to say, hey, you don't have to tell us a story. It could be anything. We'll love it. Yeah, that's really about it. We're all going to go eat some hot dogs. So if you eat a hot dog, leave us a hot dog emoji. But that's really all I've got for you. So do all those things. But most importantly, keep it real, you oddballs.
Goodbye.
Bye.